I'm going to go ahead and start. Thank you. Start screen sharing again. Thank you. Thank you guys for taking care of that. Hey, welcome back, Alana. As you're joining us, what's up, Jonathan?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, never mind. Oh, my thing's glitching. Nothing.
Okay. It happens. All right, Alana, we're filling out that after break attendance form. So if you could go to the website and go to slide 2 and this time click on that after break attendance form and fill that out, that would be awesome. That way I can make sure I have accurate attendance. And I'm going to go ahead and get us started. We're only missing a couple people now so they can join us as they come in. But for those of you who are here, I want to keep us going so we can stick with our timetable. So we're going to do some review of plot. I know before break, you guys took some notes on plot and theme. We're going to focus on plot today, and then we'll hit theme again maybe next week or the week after that. But I want to spend some time reviewing this because I know it's been a few weeks, and so I want to make sure it's kind of fresh in our brains again. So these were the things that you took notes on. And remember, plot just refers to any story, basically. So whether it's plot in a story you're reading or plot in a story that's like on film, such as on TV or on a movie, it's all the same, and it all includes the same elements. So no matter what kind of story you're watching or reading, you are going to be dealing with all of these things. So exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. And remember, the exposition just kind of focuses on the beginning of a story, so kind of introduction. And the things that you get introduced to in the beginning of any story are usually the setting. So we figure out where the story takes place, the characters. Usually that's going to include our main character, who we also refer to as the protagonist. And then the conflict, which is going to be the problem that is taking place in the story, because that problem is what drives the rest of the story. So we have to kind of have that conflict happen toward the beginning of the story. And then you guys talked about and took notes on different types of conflict, that there are 4 different types of conflict. There is character versus character conflict, which is when you actually have 2 characters who are opposing one another and fighting against each other. So when you see protagonist, antagonist, a lot of times that's what people think of when we think of character versus character, because we think of like good guy, bad guy kind of situation. So any type of storylines where you have a good guy and a bad guy, or good guys and bad guys groups against each other, that's going to be character versus character. And then there's character versus society. Character versus society, remember, is we're dealing with problems that are greater and then involve like kind of more like global influences. They're outside just one person, one individual, but they're things that other people are impacted by as well. So like some of the examples you talked about were like prejudice, for example. Another great example would be racism. These are things that groups of people deal with. It's not just one individual who deals with them, but they go on worldwide. They go on within an entire society. And that's an example of kind of what character versus society might be, is that kind of thing. So they're bigger than just that one character. And then there's character versus nature. Character versus nature, remember, just deals with natural forces. So things like tornadoes and fires and earthquakes or Armageddons, that kind of stuff would be things that would fit into that type of conflict. And then the last kind is character versus self. And character versus self, remember, is when you have a character who has created their own conflict. So my protagonist, my main character, has created conflict for themselves. Either because maybe, for example, they're struggling with some sort of internal thing, like maybe they have a lack of confidence, maybe they're shy and they're trying to overcome that. That could be an example of character versus self. Or they've created their own problem, like for instance, maybe they stayed up too late and didn't get any sleep and now they're tired and they can't focus. That would be an example of character versus self as well, because the character created their own problem. So when the character is responsible for the problem and not any kind of outside force, then you have character versus self. So that's the difference between that one kind of and the other ones that sets it apart. Ben, did you have a question? That does happen actually sometimes. You do have character arcs that go on like that. So, like for example, if anybody who's familiar with or who has watched Avatar, The Last Airbender, if you watch that show, Zuko is a perfect example of somebody who starts off as an antagonist and then becomes a protagonist as the story goes on. So if you're familiar with that series, you may know that. But yeah, that happens sometimes in stories where a character, where they call it a character arc. That means the journey that that character goes through causes them to go through some sort of change in their personality, where they learn, and want to change their ways, and so they become, a good guy instead of a bad guy. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Ben. That can happen sometimes. Yes, exactly. I didn't hear. I heard you say something, but I hear what you said. Yes, the Grinch would be a perfect example of that, right? Because we know throughout the course of that whole entire movie or story, he's very much the antagonist until he has that moment where his heart grows 2 sizes, and then he learns the error of his ways, and so he then becomes the good guy. So yeah, absolutely, that very much happens in the stories. And he has there's a lot of character versus self going on because of that. A lot of times when you have characters that are battling, like with the Grinch's case, he's battling the fact that he wants to be angry and mean. He wants to hate everybody, and he doesn't want to change, and he's trying to fight that internal battle that he's dealing with. That's an example of character versus self. So that's a great example. But these are all different types of conflict. So remember, conflict is a huge part of our beginning of our story. So we found out what our conflict is, we're introduced to our main characters, and we figure out where the story takes place, and then the story kind of takes off from there. That conflict is what drives the rising action of the story, which is, if you remember, there was like a little mountain that you guys saw on the notes, and the upward part of the mountain represents the rising action. And we call it that because it's the story building up. As more and more stuff is happening because of that initial conflict, the story builds up and the story builds up and the story builds up, and that's the rising action. And then the tip top of the mountain, before the story starts to wind down and end, we call that the climax. That's the turning point of the story. So the action builds up, gets to the turning point, our climax, and then the story begins to wind down, which we call the falling action. That's the other side of the mountain. And then that takes us to the ending, which we call the resolution and conclusion. So we are going to put some of this into practice by, like I said, watching a Pixar short called Lifted. I'm going to put the link for that in the chat. And that link is going to take you to YouTube to watch the video. When you are done watching the video, you're going to come back here and type done into the chat so I know that you're done. And while you're watching the video, I'm going to be muted so that I don't disrupt anybody's video watching. But you are welcome to, when you're done, come back here and let me know that you're done. And that's how I'll know when we're ready to move on. And yeah, Alana, Ben was kind enough to get that code in there for you. So hopefully that helps you to get logged back into the Pear Deck. We're going to be going on to that right after we watch this video. So I'm going to put the link for the video into the chat. So there it is. So go ahead and click on that link. That will take you to YouTube to watch it. And when you're done watching it, come back here and just type done into the chat, please. Thank you, Genesis. Thank you, Lex. Thank you, Jaden. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Amaya. Thank you, Tanaya.
I guessed it. I was like, yo, watch when this happens.
Okay, because some people are still watching it. Thank you for those of you who have let me know you're done. I know some of you are still watching though, so I'll give you a minute.
Has everyone watched it?
We have a couple more people who are finishing up right now. All right, looks like everybody's pretty much close to being wrapped up now from what I can tell looking at the screens. So I think we can probably move on.
Everyone finished? Dude, I predicted the end when they was coming up. I predicted, I was like, yo, watch it be like, boom, just fall on the house.
You knew it was going to happen, huh?
I was,
Yep.
That's literally what I said out loud. I'm like, yo, watch it be like, boom. And
My favorite part gotta be when the alien was like,
I was like, yo.
I was like, how, man? How?
And that's good, Genesis. If you've seen this a lot of times, then you'll be able to help us as we go through and work on this moving forward. Because if you're familiar with it, that will help. Because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start seeing if we can identify any of those parts of plot within the context of this short film. So you'll be able to help us out since you know it so well. So that being said, we're starting off with exposition. So make sure you're on the Pear Deck tab now. So if you're on Google Meet, switch over to Pear Deck. Because you're going to need to be on the Pear Deck tab in order to be able to interact with the slides that are going to pop up in front of you. And the first slide that's going to come up in front of you is a matching slide, where you are going to try and match up the elements of the exposition. So you're going to try and match the conflict, the antagonist, the setting, and the protagonist by drawing lines. There's a line tool that you can use for that, or you can just draw the lines. But you're going to use the Pear Deck in order to be able to do that. And then I will be watching your answers as you guys are putting them in. And then in a minute, we will go ahead and share out what the correct answers are. But go ahead and do that right now, please, using the Pear Deck slides. You are going to draw the lines and connect the things on the left to what they match up with on the right. So these are all of those exposition elements. And I'll be scrolling through, kind of looking at your answers as we go. And it seems like the one answer that everybody seems to get fast is the setting. That one's easy.
Get it. And protagonists are good.
Yes, thank you, Ben, for reminding people. Yes, correct. The protagonist is your main character usually. So it looks like, yeah, Ben, you've got your answers down already. I can see that. I see there are a lot of people who are still answering. I'll give you guys a little bit longer to get your lines on there. Probably about 30 more seconds to get your lines drawn there. And it looks like Jaden's got all the answers on there. And Amaya, looks like you got all those answers. And Lex has all the answers. Looks like a lot of us are getting close to being done now. So I'll give you about 10 more seconds to wrap it up. And then we'll share out what the correct answers are. And you guys will be able to, I'm going to freeze your screens at that time. And then you guys will be able to compare your answers to the ones that we're going to go over. So in about 5 seconds, I'm going to pause those screens. 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm locking the screens, which means you won't be able to use them anymore. So looking at your answers, you can compare them to the correct answers, which are as follows. The little alien, that should be the protagonist because he is the main character of our story. This one was a little trickier, and I saw some people actually got this. The giant keyboard in this case is kind of the antagonist because we often get confused because we think antagonist has to be a person, and it doesn't. To antagonize just means to like cause a problem for. So in this case, the keyboard is the thing he's kind of fighting in a sense because he doesn't know how to use it properly. And the reason he doesn't know how to use it properly is he was not prepared. This is a test, obviously. We can tell by watching it that this is kind of like his equivalent of almost like a driver's test, only it's an alien abduction test is what it looks like. Like he's supposed to be showing that he knows how to abduct this human. And obviously he did not come prepared. He did not study. And so therefore he doesn't know what buttons to press. And that's what makes this keyboard an antagonist for him because he doesn't know how to use it properly in order to do the job that he needs to. And that's what creates our conflict. And the conflict is the next one, trying to get the man out of the ship. That's the whole problem for the entire story that basically feeds the rest of the story from there. He's trying to get the man out of the ship, and the whole rest of the thing is us watching all the different ways that he's trying to do that, and he keeps failing over and over and over. And then obviously the last one is the setting. That's where the story takes place. You guys should have that option now. If you look at your, I think it's under your 3 dots is where it should be.
It's
Where
right
you
under
can-
3 dots, and when you go to it, it says change layout,
background.
full screen, and then right after full screen is change background.
Yep. Most everybody has it. There are still some people that may not have it rolled out to you yet, but if you don't, you will have it soon. But yes, that's supposed to be starting to be available to everybody now. It's able to have the option of changing your background if you want to, if you're going to be on screen like that. It never works for me though. Every time I do it, it goes like, you know, external error and then like shuts everything down. So my computer sucks. And some people may not have it yet, Alana. If you don't, you will eventually. So they're like slowly rolling them out. So some accounts have it, some accounts haven't gotten it yet. Like there are features that I don't have, that some of the other teachers already have. So as time goes on, it will show up. So just keep checking, but it should show up eventually. So that's it. Those are the different parts of the exposition. So hopefully you kind of compared yours. It looks like a lot of people were on the right track from what I was seeing. The main one that most people get confused on is that antagonist one. But aside from that, for the most part, it looked like everybody had it. So that's the exposition. And now we're going to talk about the conflict. So we talked about that the conflict has to do with he's trying to get the man out of the ship. But the next thing that we are going to ask ourselves, and this is going to be a multiple choice question for you, is what type of conflict are we dealing with? So we're going to try and determine, is it character versus character, character versus society, character versus nature, or character versus self? So just a quick reminder, character versus character means you actually have 2 characters fighting against each other. Character versus society means the character is dealing with some kind of more global problem, a problem that goes beyond just them, but involves kind of the world as well. Character versus nature is that the character is going up against some element in nature, so like a storm or a fire or something along those lines. And then character versus self, remember, is when the character has created their own problem. So whatever it is that they're facing is a problem they have created their self, either physically or a mental and emotional struggle that they may be going through, but it's a problem that is of their own making. So those are the ones that you're going to have to choose from. So on this screen, you are going to select what type of conflict do you think is going on and lifted with this little alien as he's trying to get that guy out of the ship unsuccessfully. What type of conflict do you think he is dealing with? And I see 2 people who have plugged in answers so far. Ooh, 1 person had a correct answer and then changed it. Got 4 people who've answered, and all 4 have different answers. One of you is right. Now I've got 6 people who've answered. 7 people who've answered. 8 people. 9 people. And I think there's 13 of us in here today.
There's 17.
Well, on the pair deck, because 2 of those people are me. I count for 2 of them, so because I have 2 screens going. Actually, I count for 3 of them because I'm presenting. So technically, we should have 14, I think, if I remove myself. All right, we're almost there. 12 people have logged in answers. We are all over the place on this one. The majority of everybody has the wrong answer. There are 3 people with the correct answer right now. Oh, 4 people with the correct answer now. Nope, now back to 3 people. 4 people. 3 people. Somebody's going back and forth on that one. All right, you have 10 more seconds to lock in an answer. And then I'm going to freeze your screen, so make sure you're happy with what your answer is. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last chance to change them. All right, locking those screens. at one point in time, we had 7 people with the correct answer, and then we worked our way back down to 4 again. So the correct answer on this one is character versus self. So those 4 of you who picked character versus self, you were correct, because this is a problem that is created by the little alien. Okay, the little alien is the one who has created his own problem, because he showed up unprepared for this test. He didn't study, therefore he had no idea what to do. Therefore he kept failing over and over and over. And so that's why this is an example of character versus self, as opposed to any of the other options that we have on there. That is tragedy, by the way, Amaya. As somebody who loves mac and cheese, I'd be crying right now. So that's why this one is character versus self. So it's not character versus character, because even though there's other characters, the characters are not causing the problem for him. The other alien guy is just sitting there observing him, and the man is asleep the whole time. So they're not really the ones causing the problem for him. And then it's not character versus society, because this is an isolated incident. His problem is he's trying to get the man out of the house. That doesn't really affect the rest of the world in this particular instance. And then it's not character versus nature, because we don't have any elements of nature that are impacting what's happening. The whole problem revolves around the fact that he came unprepared, he didn't study, therefore he's failing this test because he has no idea what he's doing. So that's what makes this character versus self. So those 4 of you who chose that, you have the correct answer. All right, next one from here is a rising action. So on the rising action, you are going to type this time. This one's not multiple choice. So this one you're actually going to write information. And what you are typing is things that you remember happening as part of the rising action. So basically you need to ask yourself, what were some of the ways that we saw the little alien trying to get the guy out of the house and into the spaceship? What did you see happening over the course of the film when you watched it? So you can list any of the things that you saw him do as he was trying to get that guy into the spaceship, because that was him trying to solve his problem. So that's what you're going to type here, is what do you remember seeing the little alien doing as he was trying to get that man successfully out of the house and into the spaceship, which we know he was never able to actually do. And I will be reading your answers as you are typing them in. And if I see any good ones, I will share them with the class, because this is kind of our brainstorming. We're brainstorming the rising action here, because on the next slide, you're going to be doing a matching for it. So the information we share here will help you to do that one on the next slide. Good, good. So I see a lot of people, one of the things that they're mentioning is that we saw him trying to press like random buttons because he had no idea what button worked, so he was just pressing random buttons. So I see a lot of people are mentioning that. Yeah, I see somebody mentioning how he bumped the man into a bunch of stuff because he was pressing all the wrong buttons. Ooh, Genesis, that's a good one. I'm going to come back to that one in a second. I also see somebody mentioned how he gets frustrated and angry and just smashes all the buttons. So that's another one that's good. And how he kind of looked at his instructor to get some help and he wouldn't help him. And then here's one that Genesis caught, is that he actually, at one point, he finds the instruction manual, the book. Like he finds a book and he's flipping through the book and trying to find the answer. That's how we know he didn't study. And then he finds it. He actually finds it. He's like, there it is. And then that's the point where it looks like he might actually finally be successful, because we see he starts to get the man through the window, then he gets him stuck in the tree, and then he finally has him, and he's rising up and he's rising up, and he gets him inside the spaceship and almost has him. And so like that, because he looked up that answer, he finally got the right button. So these are all great examples that I see you guys writing down of some of the things that were a part of that rising action. So lots of, you know, people writing about, again, how, you know, he was pushing all the buttons, he's bumping the guy into things, you know, he's getting frustrated, he looks in that user manual, and then he almost has that guy in the ship because of looking in that user manual. Lex, I can totally relate. I go through that all the time from having to sit here in front of a computer all day, because I have to do this twice, because I have AM and PM, and then I have to sit and grade. So sitting for so long, I totally can relate to you. All right. So whether you had a chance to finish or not on this one, we're going to move on to the next one, which is going to be matching. So the things that we brainstormed here will help you with the matching slide that we're going to go to next. So it's okay if you didn't finish this one, because you'll be able to put some answers on the next one. So on this next one, you are going to do some drop and drag. So you are going to take the little flags that are on there, and you are going to drag them and put them next to what you think are the 4 things that were part of the rising action. So based on some of the brainstorming we just did, I shared out some of the ideas that you and your classmates were writing down. Use that information to help guide you as you drag those flags into place. So you're trying to match up what were the 4 things that were part of the rising action. And I'll give you guys a minute to get those flags where you think they belong before I show you the answers. All right, about 30 more seconds for those of you who are still putting your flags in place. Fifteen more seconds. Locking screens in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and screens are locking. Okay, so look at where you placed your flags and make sure that you memorize which ones you put them on, because when it goes to the next screen, you're not going to be able to see them anymore. So figure out where you have them, and you're going to compare the answers on the next screen in just a second. So here are the correct answers. So the first one was the little alien tries to move the man, but keeps slamming him into the walls. The second one was the little alien gets frustrated with all the buttons and pushes them all at once. The third one was that the little alien uses the book to find the correct answer. And then the last one, this is the one that people tend to miss, is that he actually has the man in the spaceship momentarily until he messes up again, like we see him doing so often throughout the course of this. And that's the last point of our rising action, which brings us then to our climax. So as we answer this next question about the climax on the next screen, that's what I want you guys to keep in mind. So the climax, the turning point of our story, is a scene that happens right after that. So he almost has the guy in the ship. He's there. He almost has him. What does he do? He messes up. How does he mess up? And that will help you to figure out what the climax is. So what was the mistake that he made? He had that guy in the ship. He almost had him successfully. What mistake did he make that caused him to lose the guy again? I see 2 people already locked in an answer. And by the way, those first 2 people are correct. 3 people that are 4. 6 people, 7 people, 8 people. So far, the majority of people have been correct. Don't change your answer. Some of you are changing your answers from correct answers to incorrect answers. Stick with your gut. Got 11 people who put answers in. If you are still contemplating, I will give you 15 more seconds to decide on an answer before I freeze those screens. It's okay, Amaya. Are you back with us now? Okay, cool. All right, locking them in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and locking screens. Somebody changed theirs last minute. We had originally 7 people with correct answer. Now we have 6 people with the correct answer because somebody changed at the last minute there. So the correct answer on this one is the little alien lets go of the button too soon and drops the man. That was his mistake. So we almost had him. And then our turning point in the story is he loses him again because he lets go of that button. He gets a little bit too cocky, a little bit too self-assured. He's like, look at me, I got this. And then turns out he was wrong. And now the guy is falling. And that's literally falling action. This is a story where the first part of our falling action involves somebody actually falling. So it's easy to figure out where the falling action starts. Kyra.
Why in the world? I can't remember if it had that sound effects.
Right, exactly. Yes, that falling sound effects. Yep. So you know that he's falling. So the next one from there is actually going to be about falling action. So the first part of the falling action is the guy actually falling. This one is asking you what happened next. So as the guy is falling, what was the very next thing that happened? So think about what happened next after he starts falling. So the climax is the little alien lets go of the button. The first part of the falling action is the guy starts to fall. What happened next? That would be your second point of the falling action. Talent. Ooh, I got 7 people with the correct answer so far.
Wait, I don't understand your question, Alana.
Oh, your sounds.
Oh,
She's impressed with your sound making, yeah.
The
Yes, that was what she was impressed with, how well you made that crash landing sound.
No,
I
it's
just-
because at
I
the
just-
end, how like something falls and makes that big noise. It made that at the end.
Yes,
And it sounded real.
I just heard that.
it did, right?
That sound effect
Boom.
was much.
I know, she's got the sound effects down. She can do that as a job, right? All right, I'm going to give you 5 more seconds to lock in your answers because almost everybody has an answer in. Just missing a couple people. So if you haven't answered, you got 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Locking answers. Ooh, somebody answered the last second there. So this is the best one so far. 12 people got this one correct. The correct answer was D. The big alien stops the man from hitting the ground. He saves him from dying, and then puts everything back to normal. All right, we got one more. And the last one is the conclusion. So I need you guys to think this time about how did it end? What was the very last scene that you saw in the entire film when you select this one? So what was the last scene that you saw in the entire film? That would be your resolution conclusion. So we'll see how fast we can answer this one. This one should be the easy one. I got 6 answers in already. 7. I'm going to give you guys 15 more seconds to answer this one because this one should be easy to answer. It's literally the last thing that you saw on the screen before the credits started. We got 11 people who've answered. Ooh, all 11 of you are right now. Anybody else who wants to answer? You got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lock them in. 13 people with the correct answer. That's the best score of the day so far. Congratulations. Yes, that is the correct answer. That's the very last scene we see. He tries to drive it, he drops it on the house and smashes it, and obviously we assume that the big alien had to take over and fly it away. And that was the one that Ben said he predicted, he knew that was going to happen. And that's it. That was our resolution conclusion. So that's all of the parts of plot in this particular Pixar example. So again, we look at it this way visually in terms of film. And then the next time we revisit this next week, we're going to be looking at the story that you're reading for homework and trying to see if we can kind of learn to identify a plot within a written story as opposed to one that we're watching. So good work today, guys, on that. We had lots of, like I said, I think the most correct answers in this class so far. But for now, go ahead and log out of that Pear Deck because we're going to talk about your homework and then get into talking about ambition presentations. So I'm going to end the Pear Deck. You guys can log out of the Pear Deck and make your way back to the Google Meet screen, please. Sometimes I feel like mine can. He talks to me all the time. I don't know what he's saying, but he sure as heck talks to me all the time. Exactly, Amaya, exactly.
I turned in my technology discussion paragraph.
Okay, awesome. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Alrighty. So as we talk about your homework, remember you just have 2 assignments this week for homework. So remember we already talked about iReady. Remember for iReady, you just need to make sure that when you log in via Clever, that you make sure that you are meeting those 2 requirements. So at least 45 minutes of on-task time and passing at least 1 to 2 lessons. So remember, always make sure you're doing reading lessons. And then you can use the My Progress to check and see your minutes. Remember, that's where you'll see whether you've met your minutes. And then if you hit on completed work, that's where you'll be able to see your past lessons. And remember, your looking green shows anything that's passed. So that's your goal for this week, is to make sure you meet both of those requirements. And don't forget, if you need to make up for last week, then you'll want to do double the amount in order to make sure that you do that. And again, that does not mean you have to do it all in one day. You could do it over the course of several days. These assignments always are due the night before we have class. So homework for my class, anytime that I assign it, you always have until the following week. The night before class is when it's officially due. So you can kind of decide how and when it gets worked on, as long as it gets done. So iReady is one of your assignments. And then this is the new one. This is Actively Learn. So the link for Actively Learn, when you click on it, will prompt you to sign in with your Google account. So when you go to Actively Learn, it will give you these options. You want to sign in with Google, just like you do most of your stuff with your school Google account. And then if you do that correctly, it should take you straight here, only yours will say period 5 up here. And then you will see the story. It'll be right here. It'll be the only thing that's there is your story. And then you click on that story, and this is where you are going to read and answer the questions. So that's basically what you're doing. There are questions. 5 of them are multiple choice. The last one is written response. Each one of the questions is worth 10 points each. So you're going to be answering 6 questions total. So that means that 5 of those multiple choice ones plus that 1 written response for 60 points total for this assignment. Okay, that's why this is the only other assignment that you have. Make sure, especially on the multiple choice ones, that you answer them very carefully. Because once you put in an answer, that's it. You can't go back and change it. And so it will accept your answer. And if you get it wrong, you can't fix that. So you want to make sure that you are very careful and you answer to the best of your ability. And you're always welcome to go back and to check your answers or check things in the text as you're answering as well. Hold on just a second here. I'm going to come back to the main screen for just a second. Jaden, you finished the this already? The Actively Learn?
Yeah.
That's cool. If you've already done it, then you're good to go. You already did it. But I'm just letting people know that this is what to do next week. So totally fine if you've already done it. If you haven't, then you have until next week to make sure that it gets done. But that's basically all you have to do for the Actively Learn is you will answer the questions. Let me come back to it as you go. And then the last question, just be aware, this one is written response. So on this one, you need to make sure that you are following all the directions carefully so that you can make sure that you get all of the points. So you'll notice that these directions down here are very similar to the ones that you have for your discussion questions. So 5-sentence minimum, make sure you number your sentences. And this time you're given 2 options of what it is that you are going to be writing about. Either one, you're going to rewrite the story ending. So like however it ends, you'll reimagine it and rewrite the ending of the story, or you can imagine what it would be like if you added on to the ending of the story. But either way, it's kind of a little bit of a creative writing activity where it's asking you to kind of use some of your storytelling skills, and you can decide which one you end up wanting to do based on how you feel after reading the entire story. But you'll pick one, and then you just have to make sure you write at least 5 sentences and you number your sentences. Okay. Any questions on this Actively Learn assignment? Obviously, I know Jaden doesn't have any because he finished it. So, but for those of you who have not had a chance to finish it, is there anything that I can clarify about what you need to do for this assignment in order to make sure that it gets done properly and you can get all your points? Whoops. I gotta scroll this down here for a second. Yes, Tanaya.
I don't see that assignment on that that Actively Learn thing.
So you went here and you clicked on the link to sign in?
Mm-hmm.
And the assignment's not showing up?
Nope.
Okay, so do me a favor, hang out for a minute at the end of the period today and show me your screen because I want to see what you're seeing so I can hopefully help you figure out how we can fix it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, it should only take a couple minutes. So once I can see your screen, it'll help me because I know obviously Jaden was able to access it. So it's unusual for whatever reason why it's not showing for you. Lex, was that an on purpose or accidental hand raise there? I'm going to guess probably an accident since it went away. Okay. Then any other questions, anything else I can clarify about the homework that you have for this week that's due next week? So the iReady or the Actively Learn. All right. I know, right? I know. I can't believe it's already over. It flies by, doesn't it? All right. Then last but not least, I do want to get a jump start on some of these ambition presentations. We won't have time to do very many, but I do want to kind of just get a few of them out there so you guys can kind of see how they're done. And this will be an opportunity for some extra credit points for those of you who like to get extra credit because you get easy extra credit points simply by volunteering to participate because everybody's going to have to participate at some point in time. So I'm like, you might as well volunteer and get extra credit points. Because literally all you have to do is screen share your presentation and talk about it, and that's it. Boom, 15 points plus extra credit for simply volunteering. So what I'll do as people volunteer in other classes is I've just started making a list of the people who are volunteers. So that way, if we don't get to you this week, as we continue the presentations next week, I'll be able to continue going through my volunteer list. But that being said, once people stop volunteering, the extra credit is off the table. So then if I have to call on you and tell you to go, you don't get extra credit points anymore. So I just want to make sure that that's clear as we attempt to do a couple of these presentations there. Jonathan, yes?
Do we have to volunteer? Or do you have to present?
Everybody has to present, yes, at some point or another. So whether you want to volunteer is up to you and get the extra credit points, but everybody will be sharing theirs at some point in order to get the points because it's half of your grade. So if you don't share, you're going to get a 0 on this part, and that's going to really hurt your grade. So yes, everybody will be sharing at some point or another. So that being said, do I have any people who would like to volunteer to get some extra credit points so I can start making a list of volunteers who would like to have that opportunity?
I would like to go.
Okay, so I will put Tatiana down. So I got one. Okay, I've got two. Well, here they all come now. Let's see if I can keep up with them. Hold up. All
Well,
right,
one
so
person
I got
did it, like-
Kyra.
It looks like
I
only
did it
girls
multiple
right now.
times.
Yeah.
I got Tanaya. I've got Jasmine. Whoops, it jumped too far. I got Amaya. Alana. I love that everybody wants extra credit. That's awesome. It's like, what is the question? If you want to volunteer to present to get extra credit. Oh, thank you, Jonathan, for stepping up and representing the boys there. I understand, Jaden. Trust me. When you watch some other people go, you may change your mind about volunteering because a lot of times people watch other people present and they go, "Oh, it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. I saw them do it and I feel better about it." But yeah, and yeah, extra points are always important. So, but yeah, so watch some people do their presentations, guys. And like I said, if you decide you want to be added to the list later, you can let me know and I will add you to the list. But for now, we'll start with the people we have here. And I am going to have Tatiana, do you know how to screen share your screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Then I'm going to stop screen sharing mine so that you can start presenting from yours. And then you guys just remember as Tatiana is sharing her presentation, we want to make sure we're good audience members. So that means we stay muted. That means that, you know, we are being polite and respectful. And then, of course, that also means that when she's done, we give her a round of applause. So you can do that a couple of ways. You can unmute and clap. You can go on screen so she can see you clapping. You can type clap, 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 or clap emojis into the chat. But we always want to make sure that we are supportive of one another because that makes this process easier for people too when we support each other like that. So just keep that in mind. And also, Tatiana, you get double extra credit for being willing to go first. I always give double extra credit to my people who go first because you're setting the stage and the example for everybody else. So we appreciate that and we are thankful for that. And that being said, I'm going to mute and let you go ahead from here.
Okay. My life and ambition. My name is Tatiana. I was born in Pomona Valley Hospital. I live with my mom, dad, sisters, and my cat, Pickle Rick. Some of my favorite hobbies are drawing, painting, and staying active. And one interesting fact about me is that I'm double jointed in my fingers and legs. These are some things about my family. My mom works at a fulfillment and my dad works as a janitor. These girls in the pictures are my sisters, Aria and Olivia. They love to dance, sing, and stay active too. I have many cousins that I see every week and we have tons of fun together. And this week we're going to see them. Some of my favorite teachers are Mrs. Mack. She's my second grade teacher. If I'm being honest, she's only my favorite teacher because she gave us candy. And Mrs. Hanson because I thought she was mean because she would always make sure we had our work done and we understand it. But now I know that she was just trying to make sure we understand things. And my third grade teacher, Mrs. McKenna, because she made sure no one was left alone because in my school, you had to be cool to be hanged out with. And I wasn't that cool kid. And my grades started improving in 6th grade. And my plans after high school is to go to college and get a degree. My favorite entertainment is Ponyo, Avatar The Last Airbender, My Little Pony, and Alice in Wonderland. Ponyo is one of my favorite shows because my Uncle Chris showed me this when I was 3 or 2, and I fell in love with this show. And the only way to get me to stop crying or be quiet was this show, and I still watch it. My plans after high school is to go to college. I haven't decided what college yet, but when I do, I want to be a kindergarten teacher or a therapist. And I know to get to that goal, I have to work hard and study now. For my second chance, I wish that I wasn't scared to ask for help because when I was little, I wouldn't ask for help and I was failing. But now I have good grades and I ask for help. That's my life and ambition.
Awesome. Give her a round of applause, please. Remember, you can decide how to show that appreciation, but make sure she feels that appreciation for being willing to go first. She did a fantastic job. Thank you so much. You did great. I love what you shared at the end there. I think that's an important lesson for a lot of people, is that we can't be afraid to reach out for help when we need it, because you're right. Like it does impact us negatively when we don't. And I think it's so cool that you learned that lesson. And I also think it's really cool that you've seen Ponyo, because not a lot of people have seen that, and I love Ponyo. So that was really neat. That was something that you shared. So awesome job. You did a fantastic job, Tatiana. Thank you for demonstrating to everybody, what this is like. That's pretty much all there is to it. You just, share your presentation, and then you'll be done, and then you can breathe, and then you can watch everybody else's. And that's a nice thing about getting it out of the way too, is now that Tatiana went first, she's done. She doesn't have to do anything else anymore except for listen. I know, Amaya, I know a lot of people feel that way. Trust me, I am the same way. I hate talking in front of people. Absolutely hate it. And then at least you guys have the chance here to be able to, you don't have to be on screen. You can turn your screens off so people can't see you. So it's a lot better than if we were doing this in class. Imagine how much scarier it would be because you have to stand up in front of people. So at least this way, that's one advantage that you have that makes it a little bit easier, is you get to kind of hide behind your screen a little bit. So it makes it a little bit better than having to stand up and just physically have everybody looking at you.
I was shaking the whole time. It was so
Were
scary.
you? But do you feel so much better now? Like you feel like you can breathe now that it's over?
Yeah, I feel so much better. I was so scared.
It's a relief when it's done. I know it's scary while you're doing it, but then when it's done, you're like, and then, like I said, now you're done, and you don't have to worry anymore. You don't have to feel those nerves. So that's one of the reasons why sometimes I like to get it out of the way first, because then I don't have to keep sitting with those nerves and waiting and waiting and waiting. All right, Kyra, my dear, it's your turn. Do you know how to screen share?
Yep.
All right, cool. We get mood music while we wait.
Yes. Can y'all see that?
Now it's pumped up music. Can't see it yet.
Okay. Tell me when you guys see it. I can't. I don't have no control of it.
Oh.
No.
It's thinking about. There it goes. It's starting to go.
Okay. Let me wait for something.
That's a good song.
Yes, it is.
All right, we're ready whenever you are.
Okay. Hi, my life and ambition. I'm gonna just chapter 1. Who am I? I was born in Pomona, California. Pomona Valley, California. Chiron. Pomona and where I live is upland. I like to paint, draw, paint, sing, dance, and read sometimes. I used to like reading a lot and spend time with my little sister. And talk to her too. Have a medium amount of anxiety and insecurities. I cannot. I have never broken a bone in my life, and I have 5 siblings. Yes, I do.
You got two in the car. Big brother and two kids. That's four. 5, 6. Got a big boy and no, I got Malcolm.
Okay,
That is,
what is family to me? I really
99.
not 99. There you go. I really never knew my grandparents because
Your grandmother.
oh yeah, I wasn't there yet because one died before I was born and the other one died last year. My mom is a half nurse.
A half nurse.
A nurse. I put a nurse. Now,
A half nurse.
now I'm thinking about it. Half nurse.
It's a half nurse. And a psych nurse.
Psych nurse. Okay. My dad works at a warehouse. I have
Not a warehouse.
3 older brothers.
Not a warehouse.
We have 2 older brothers.
3 older brothers because I count Big Boy as my older brother.
Yeah. And then who's the other one?
3 brothers. Oof. one is younger
You got 2.
and 2 older.
And one younger.
Tiara is my closest bestie / sister ever. In parentheses, sisters. And I can't remember what the last one was, but it's something for my brothers and mom.
What, Dad?
My favorite entertainment is I really like to read Harry. I have a few more things to do. One sec. Yes. I like to read Harry Potter and Percy Jackson books. I don't really have one really favorite. Nope. On class. Goodbye. I don't have a favorite movie that I like Home Alone. I like Home Alone.
You like Hamilton?
Okay, that's a musical, not a movie.
It is a movie.
A movie.
A movie. A movie.
A movie. Okay, got you.
You know what? Don't make fun of me.
Why you say that, Mom? It's funny.
I don't have a favorite TV show, but I have a favorite network, and it's Food Network. Come on, shut up. My favorite sport gotta be basketball and baseball, hands down. I swear to God, if you're in my camera view, my ambitions / plans after high school. Well, I really don't have plans. I have been thinking about it, but I haven't been thinking about it. If y'all get what I mean. But like so right after high school, because as long as I graduate high school, my mom will be fine with it. But I really just need to get to college with hard work and doing the best I can. I bet I can make it.
Oh, no. I want my mommy.
Okay, I just now thought about this after. I don't even know how to say your name. Kyron, I swear to God, I will smack you. Stop. So second chance. I just now thought about this after. I'm gonna say your name wrong. I don't want to. After the first person went. At first, I said nothing in my life I would change, and I'm now thinking about it. I would like to change like having my old self back when I used to actually talk and ask questions, which I don't do anymore. Which I don't fail, I just don't do it anymore. Which I need to though. So yeah, that's it.
Bye, Tyra.
Awesome job. All right, guys, give her a round of applause. And I think that was really cool that you were inspired by Tatiana's presentation to share what you did.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
I'm sorry, Kairon, Fish. I'm so sorry about like my mom.
You're good. No worries, honey. You made it through. That's what matters. All right, guys, we will continue these presentations when we meet again next week. So I need to be able to let you go from here. Unless you need anything from me, you're welcome to stay, and I will help you out. But it is time for us to say goodbye, and take care, everybody, and I will see you next week. Have a wonderful day. If you have questions, don't hesitate to stick around, and we will help you out and answer them for you. But
Bye,
otherwise, feel
everybody.
free to go.